good afternoon, and welcome to the Wednesday, April the 5th session of the OBX Wave Report. I am Robert Scribbler, your reporter on all things waves, weather, climate, and the beaches. And today on the Outer Banks, it is beautiful. We have had temperatures in the middle to upper 70s, highs in the upper 70s, beautiful beach weather. There are numerous beachgoers enjoying the beach right now, and waves at across the Outer Banks ranging from 1 to 3 feet. Most locations showing small waves. I did get out and get a little surf session, practicing my pumps on the waves because I don't want to be a 0 pump chump or a 1 pump chump or a 2 pump chump. I want to get that speed going down the waves, and one way to do it is working on the turns and the pumps, getting more confident, getting better balanced, and starting to work on those pumps down at Jeanette's Pier today. I didn't even count the number of waves I got. It was might have been about 6 or 7. All of them were very small in the range of 1.5. There might have been a 2 footer here and there. Nonetheless, well-formed waves, pretty easy to catch and ride. A few wipeouts, no problem with wipeouts. I'll see if I can get some footage of these waves for you guys. My GoPro did cut out, I think, after wave 3 or 4 because I was not as diligent with charging it as I should have been. But nonetheless, I did get a video about walking across the sandbar and how that can be kind of risky here in the Outer Banks. I've had friends get zapped by rays. And so providing some advice on how to walk across the sandbar in the event that you must walk across the sandbar. Sometimes sandbars are like really shallow, kind of like they were today. Better generally just to paddle across the sandbar, better for your physique. But if you must walk across the sandbar, the short story is tread lightly. But I did do a little uh, GoPro video while I was out on the sandbar because I had to walk on the sandbar a little bit today because it was so shallow. So I just talked about it. But in any case, yeah, waves in the range of 1 to 3 feet. Most breaks showing 1 foot waves, maybe some 2 foot waves, 1 to 2 foot waves at some of the bigger breaks today, and 2 to 3 foot waves just at Buxton and Billy Mitchell. I'll get more into the comprehensive analysis a little bit later, but here's a gorgeous shot from Jeanette's Pier earlier today. Wave conditions probably won't change that much from today into tomorrow. But as we start to get into Friday, we're looking at a nor'easter starting to show up, and that's going to change the wave conditions for the Outer Banks. Spoiler alert, though, even though things are likely to get rough through the weekend and possibly into Monday, by Tuesday, the waves are starting to look good. Maybe we might even get some really good waves on Monday, so we shall see. We might get some big, beautiful, nice waves on Tuesday, maybe even on Monday as well. So I'm kind of excited about this. The nor'easter is going to get stormy and choppy and all of the gnarly things. There might be some good breaks for some of the more advanced surfers. Looking at some of the wave models, and it's looking kind of gnarly out there. Possible like 10 to 15 foot waves on Sunday. And we'll get into that as we get into the wave report, but I did want to show you this gorgeous picture from the beach today. Now let's get into some weather analysis. We're going to talk a little bit weather and climate with the initial weather analysis, and then we're going to dive a little bit deeper into climate as we get later. And one of the features that affects the global weather and climate system is El Nino. Now, El Nino is a natural variability feature. It's a periodic warming of the equatorial Pacific in the eastern region. And this warming does have a telegraphic effect on weather around the world. And one of the effects of El Nino is that it can tend to suppress hurricane formation in the North Atlantic during hurricane season. And um, what we are seeing now is what looks like the first signs of a transition to an El Nino state in the Pacific. You see this warm pool of water out here. Let's go ahead and transfer this to Fahrenheit. We got 8 degrees Fahrenheit above normal water temperatures off of the equatorial west coast of South America, and that's indicative of the equatorial Pacific starting to transition toward more of a El Nino state. Of course, we're going to have to rely on the experts at NOAA to make a final call on whether or not El Nino is going on. But I just want to point out that we've got some El Nino signage starting to pop up over the equatorial Pacific. One last statement on El Nino is that it is not a driver of global warming. It is not a cause of global warming. It is none of the above. So if anyone tells you that, they are spreading bunk. Don't just rely on me. Go to NOAA, go to NASA, ask the climate scientists. That's who I got the info from about the El Ninos. The driver of climate change is fossil fuel burning, and there's a lot of people that don't want to admit that fact, but too bad. That's just what it is. In any case, yeah, so we've got the signage for potential or the start of El Nino popping up over the equatorial Pacific. And I did also want to show you once again the Gulf of Mexico, much warmer than normal, and the North Atlantic looking warmer than normal as well in a lot of the regions, although the Caribbean cooling off a little bit. But God, look at this just broad pool of much warmer than normal ocean conditions for the North Atlantic. It's like the whole North Atlantic is just one big blob of warmer than normal temperatures for the most part. And that's on the other side of the hurricane thing. If this stays in place for hurricane season, then we're going to have all that extra fuel for storms at the ocean surface in the form of warmer than normal waters. And hurricanes are heat engines, so they just really feed on that excess heat. So you've got those two influences kind of competing against each other, possibly for the summer. Much warmer than normal water temperatures at the surface, lending more potential fuel for hurricanes when they do form. But then the equatorial Pacific looks like it might be moving toward more of an El Nino state, which might mean more wind shear, which tends to tamp down storm formation. So those competing forces being at loggerheads. We'll have to look at the hurricane forecasts and the various monitors to see how many storms are forecast, but those are the base conditions for hurricane season. We're not into hurricane season yet, but I thought I'd start talking about it since we're getting into April. Okay, let's look at the geocolor composite for the United States. We've got a big storm system which has been big front that has been firing off storms across the central U.S. That continues today, and there's a major risk of severe weather running from Texas all the way through the Great Lakes, with a focus region being here in the Tennessee, Kentucky, Illinois, Indiana, Mississippi River Valley region. So for those of you out there, please stay alert to weather conditions and listen to your local weather experts and emergency management folk, and do your best to stay safe if severe weather threatens. All right, let's look at the enhanced cloud tops provided by Levi Cohen's Tropical Tidbits, and you can really see those storms firing up along the frontal boundary. The cold, high cloud tops really popping in this image and just showing that there's basically a long string of severe weather streaking up from, looks like eastern Texas all the way through Illinois and Indiana, and looks like it's heading east toward the rest of Kentucky and Ohio and toward the Appalachians. We got some stormy weather off the U.S. West Coast. Looks like it's going to affect the Pacific Northwest. Otherwise, no real major instances of severe weather. This little blob here on the North Caribbean looks interesting, kind of um, tropical wave-ish. There's this squally area that's moving eastward, I'm sorry, moving westward across the Caribbean toward Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic and Haiti. So that's kind of an interesting feature there. Over the next couple of days, this front is expected to stall out over the southeast and to form into a nor'easter later on. And oh no, I just killed one of my things. What was that? Oh, it was National Weather Service radar. Okay, let me just go ahead and pull that up really quick. Uh, so yeah, I do want to show you the National Weather Service radar map, which shows all the alerts and all the things that are going on right now. So right now you can see those showers and thunderstorms stretching, looks like from just east of Houston all the way to, it looks like the Indianapolis and Cincinnati area. And you can see those bright colors indicating the heavy rainfall and severe weather. I'm just going to go ahead and click on this so you guys can see all the alerts we've got. Tornado watch is up for multiple locations all along this frontal boundary. Severe thunderstorm warnings and watches as well. You can see the boxes popping up. Let's see, do we have any tornado warnings? Looks like Spencer, severe thunderstorm, tornado watch. So looks like tornado watch is mostly up right now. I'm not seeing any tornado warnings, but that doesn't mean that there aren't any. It is worth noting that this area is very severe, and so please stay safe, guys. This front is moving on off toward the east. We got some rainy weather moving up through the Great Lakes, and looks like we had some blizzard conditions up for parts of the northern tier of the U.S., but those look to be moving on out. And then for the West Coast, we got some rain coming in. Here on the East Coast in the Carolinas, life is good. It is clear, beautiful, temperatures in the 70s. Just a gorgeous day today. All right, so let's get into our local wave observations. I'm going to start out at Jeanette's Pier, where I went surfing earlier. And the waves right now, I'm saying that they are in the range of 1 to 2 foot. The wave runners are saying they're 1 foot. I did see some like 2 footers out there. I'm going to say 1 to 2 foot minus. Most of the waves like 1 to 1.5, occasionally a 2 foot swell rolling in. Primary swell coming in from the southeast at 5 seconds has a 1.8 foot swell. Does line up occasionally. And then secondary swell coming in out of the east at 13 seconds has a very small 0.3 foot swell. Winds out of the south-southeast at moderate strength, 13 miles per hour. That is a cross-shore flow. Air temperatures right now 73 degrees. We did have a high today so far earlier in the day of 77 degrees at Jeanette's Pier, just really warm, nearly 80. Ocean water temperatures hanging in there at 53 degrees Fahrenheit. It's been warming up generally across the Outer Banks. And it's much warmer than the low of about 46 degrees that we experienced last month. So ocean water temperatures are warming up. I'm still wearing my full suit, my hood, and my booties, but with a combination of the warmer water and the warmer air, I feel like I have a lot more longevity out there in the surf. I'm getting more waves. I'm not feeling as sluggish. It's just overall much more pleasant, much more energy in the surf. And weather conditions today, partly sunny, highs in the upper 70s, patchy fog later. All right, and then heading on down south to, I'm gonna go on past Rodanth, where the wave observers say that the waves are in the range of about 1 foot. It's probably about 1 foot plus. It's probably similar to what you see at Jeanette's Pier, maybe 1 to 1.5, maybe an occasional 2 foot swell. I did look at some of the video shots for Rodanth, and looks rather similar down there to Jeanette's Pier. Okay, now let's head on further south past Waves and down to Avon, where the waves are officially in the range of 1 to 2 foot. And I'm going to say this is a solid 1 to 2 foot break here, because the primary swell is coming in at 5 seconds, and that is a 2 foot swell. That's coming in out of the southeast. Appears to be lining up very nicely there at Avon. Secondary swell coming in at 8 seconds. That is a 1 foot swell out of the east-southeast. Winds are coming out of the south-southeast. That is a fresh 18 mile per hour wind there, which is also a cross onshore flow, kind of cutting the line there between cross and onshore. Air temperatures right now 74 degrees. We had a high today at Avon of 76. Ocean water temperature is much warmer down there at 63 degrees Fahrenheit. Weather conditions for the rest of the day, partly sunny, highs, we already met the highs in the upper 70s, and patchy fog later, which is basically the story for most of the Outer Banks. And now heading on down south to Buxton. Buxton is once again in the running for the big wave spot for the Outer Banks today, with waves in the range of 2 to 3 feet. Primary swell coming in at 5 seconds. That's a 3 foot swell. That's coming out of the south southeast. Secondary swell at 8 seconds has a 1.1 foot swell. That's coming out of the east southeast. Winds are 13 miles per hour out of the south southeast. That has a moderate onshore flow. And air temperatures right now 74 degrees. We had a high today of 76. Ocean water temperatures 64. And for the weather, partly sunny, high in the upper 70s, patchy fog later. All right. Now that concludes. Oh, hold on. I did want to tell you that Billy Mitchell is also experiencing 2 to 3 foot waves as well, with a pretty decent southerly swell, but I didn't get all the details for that. Just wanted to provide a spot observation for you guys. Now let's talk a little bit about climate and long-term weather features. And right now, the global temperature anomaly is in the range of 0.27 degrees Celsius above normal. The Arctic is the only region that is showing below normal temperatures, with the tropics above normal and the Antarctic much above normal at 1.855 degrees Celsius above normal. Here in the southeast, we're experiencing above normal temperatures, and that is the case for most of the eastern US. There's a large swath in Western Asia, Eastern Europe, that is also experiencing above normal temperatures, and notably, some of these regions in the middle latitudes have started to cool off, which is a good thing. Australia, unfortunately, still experiencing warmer than normal temperatures as they get into fall, and they've had a pretty long spate of warmer than normal temperatures. All right, so that's just a basic assessment of the hot spots. And then looking at the quantitative prediction forecast, we do get a notion of where the storms are going to form. And for the southeast, we've just had a lot of severe weather, and for the central US. And over the coming days, the front that is sweeping through is expected to stall and create some storminess in the southeast and along the Gulf Coast, and then eventually transition into a nor'easter. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. You can see some of that tendency in the quantitative prediction forecast here. And then for the Northwest, we also do expect to see a decent amount of precipitation. All right, looking at the Climate Prediction Center, I did want to show you the 6 to 10 day outlooks, where we expect to see much warmer than normal temperatures for the US East. And similarly for the 8 to 14 day outlook. For some reason, it's showing me the 8 to 14 day. There we go, 6 to 10 day, and then the 8 to 14 day. So very similar types of patterns in the 6 to 14 day period, with below normal precipitation for the US East and above normal precipitation for pretty much everywhere west of the Mississippi River Valley. And also worth noting that the US West is expected to be below normal. We've got drought conditions. Drought conditions haven't changed that much. This is from March 28th, so I won't go into that too much. And then let's look at the meso-analysis from the Storm Prediction Center by NOAA. And right now we've got enhanced severe weather potential running from Texas all the way through the Great Lakes. We did show you the National Weather Service radar. It looks like about 50 to 60 million people or so under the gun for thunderstorms today. According to the summary, we have the potential for severe thunderstorm winds, large hail, and a few tornadoes, which are expected today from the Great Lakes to parts of East Texas. So once again, please pay attention to the weather and stay safe, guys. Here is the storm system that is producing that severe weather now. And what I'm going to do is show you where it's going to go, because we've got some nor'easter potential starting on Friday. So by the time we get into tomorrow, the low pressure system has moved off. The front is sagging south and east toward the US Southeast and Gulf coasts. And that sag continues as we get into Friday, with storminess starting to cross the Outer Banks by Friday evening time. Now, it is worth noting that as this front moves south, we start to get some easterly and northeasterly winds. And this sets the stage for our nor'easter. What happens is the front sags to the south of the Outer Banks. This is in the forecast. And then a high pressure system builds to the north. The clockwise circulation around the high brings in that wind from the Atlantic Ocean. And then a low pressure formation along the front helps to intensify that wind. And you can start to see the storminess intensify as we get later into the day on Saturday. And then by midnight on Sunday, um, more stormy, and then a low pressure forms just offshore on Sunday and then tracks eastward. Now, this is not as long a term event as some of the previous models had indicated. It looked like we were looking at maybe a 5-day event. Instead, looks like we're looking at maybe a 3-day event. And then as we get into Monday, we still get some windiness coming in from the northeast with that high pressure system, but winds tapering off as we get into the day on Monday. And then by Tuesday, looking kind of calm, which is one of the reasons why I think that the waves on Monday possibly, and particularly on Tuesday, will be very good because we'll have that remnant swell from the nor'easter and calm conditions, and that could be fun. All right, so let's look at the wave forecast, looking at our wave monitors. And right now, we've got wave heights in the near offshore environment in the range of about 2.5 feet to possibly 3 feet for most locations. And these waves are not going to really change much as we get into the day tomorrow, possibly a little bit larger, possibly waves angling more from the east. So maybe some better waves tomorrow, but still the swell is in the range of 2.5 to looks like about, yeah, 3 feet. Up and down the Outer Banks with a similar angle to the swell. This on Thursday. And then as we get into the day on Friday, we start to see that northeast wind start to blow, and it gets choppy and bigger with wave heights in the range of about 6 feet in the near offshore environment, just offshore of the Outer Banks. And then as we get into Saturday, watch this bad boy. So then these waves start to pop with swell in the range of about 9 feet north and looks like 10 to 12 feet south in the near offshore environment. And then once again, as we get into the day on Sunday, even more so with looks like 13 to 15 foot significant wave heights just off Buxton, and here off of Nag's Head, 11-foot significant wave heights on Sunday. So very big waves on Sunday. Might get down to the beaches and get some video, some waves for you. Maybe I'll head on south. We shall see. In any case, big waves predicted for Sunday. And then into Monday, we don't get too far into Monday because this is only a 5-day model. I'm just going to tease this out till we get to, uh, yeah, I think we can get into early Monday. Yeah. So we can get it to around 8 o'clock in the morning on Monday. And you can still see large, very large waves coming out of the east on Monday in the range of 8 to 11 feet in the near offshore environment. And if you look at the air, it's probably still pretty windy with winds coming out of the east and northeast. It looks like in the range of 19 to 20 to 25 mile per hour sustained. So not too crazy, but still enough to keep rough conditions. But as we get later into the day on Monday, with that storm moving off, it should start to calm down. And then on Tuesday, looking like some good waves coming. All right, so thank you for joining me for this session of the OBX Wave Report. Didn't talk too much climate science or anything like that this time around. I've Today I just wanted to get through the things. So, but what I will do, as I always do, is ask you guys to please do everything you can to help speed the transition to clean energy and thereby protect our beautiful coastlines from the impacts of climate change. Climate change is driven by fossil fuel burning, and the faster we transition to things like wind, water, solar, and electric vehicles, and possibly green hydrogen if we get those electrolyzers out, um, the better off we will be, the more we will preserve our coastlines, the less homes we will lose, and the less devastation we will face on the coastline from a combination of impacts from things such as increasingly severe storms and rising sea levels as the glaciers melt. And for me, the coastline is really close to my heart. So I implore you, please, please, please do everything you can to help speed the transition to clean energy. So thank you once again for joining me, and I will be back with you shortly.